Nashta Praeswa Badrisu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, and today we're doing text 3. Sakatam sevaya tasya kalina jarasangata Vishtu vatam pati bruyad bhatu pada vanusmaran Sakatam sevaya tasya kalina jarasangata Prishto Vartam Pati Bruyad Bhartu Padya Bhartu Padavanusmaram Sakatan Sevaya Tasya Kalina Jarasangata Prishto Vartam Pati Bruyad Bhartu Padavanusmaram Hare Krishna.
Sakatam sevaya tasya kalena jarasam gata Prishto vartam pratibhruyat bhartu padhav anusmaran.
Yay. One more or no?
Yes, Prabhu. Sakatham sevaya tasya kalena jarasambhataha Prishto vartam prati bruyat bhartu padav anusmaran.
Right. All right, we do word for word now. Sa Udava. Katam, how? Sevaya, by such service. Tasya, his. Kalina, in course of time. Jarasam, invalidity. Gata, undergone. Prishta, asked for. Vartam, message. Prati Bruyat, just to reply. Bhartu, of the Lord. Padau, his lotus feet. Anusmaran, remembering. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood, and in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Transcendental service to the Lord is not mundane. The service attitude of the devotee gradually increases and never becomes slackened. Generally, in old age, a person is allowed retirement from mundane service. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no retirement at all. On the contrary, the service attitude increases more and more with the progress of age. In the transcendental service, there is no satiation. Therefore, there is no retirement. Materially, when a man becomes tired by rendering service in his physical body, he is allowed retirement. But in a transcendental service, there is no feeling of fatigue because it is spiritual service and is not on the bodily plane. Service on the bodily plane dwindles as the body grows older, but the spirit is never old, and therefore, on the spiritual plane, the service is never tiresome. Uddhava undoubtedly became old, But that does not mean that his spirit became old. His service attitude matured on the transcendental plane, and therefore, as soon as he was questioned by Vidura about Lord Krishna, he at once remembered his Lord by reference to the context and forgot himself on the physical plane. That is the sign of pure devotional service to the Lord, as will be explained later on. Lakshanam, as will be explained later on. Lakshmanam Bhakti Yogasya, etc., in Lord Kapila's instructions to his mother Devahuti. Oma Gyanati Vedandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Omaditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadatikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha. Sri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Gunatam Vitantam Sijiva. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva. Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Scha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kantan Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanusite Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhya Kripa Sindhivya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desitayani Momahabananaya Krishna Prema Padayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurachise Namaha Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himabiri Vacha Vishundaraya Tasmi Mahaprema Rasa Padaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. The English translation of the text. Uddhava served the Lord continually from childhood. And in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. Hare Krishna. So a little background. Vidura had left Hastinapur. He had been insulted by Duryodhana. Rather than go sit someplace and fuss about how he had been treated, he took advantage of that and went on pilgrimage to holy places. So he could remember Krishna and associate with the devotees at those holy places. Now, in his trip, he ran into Uddhava. And as we said, Sri Prabhupada said in the purport, Uddhava immediately remembered all about Krishna when Vidura asked him. Mm-hmm. So Uddhava was teaching us by his example how important it is to always remember Krishna, as Rupa Goswami tells us to do. Now, Vidura himself was only interested in Krishna consciousness. Things, pastimes of Krishna, anything he wanted to hear, but it had to be related to Krishna. And that should be our attitude also. When we ask him questions, even material things, somehow we should find a way to bring Krishna into the picture. That way it helps for us, for ourselves to remember Krishna all the time, and the person that we're talking with to also remember Krishna. Now, there's also something very important that Srila Prabhupada mentioned in this. So, let me just, before I even go on to the first word in this, sa Sa actually in Sanskrit means he. But Srila Prabhupada translated Sa to mean Uddhava. So he was being specific as to who he was. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about this is some Sanskrit scholars, and Srila Prabhupada, we were reading Srila Prabhupada's writings and translations and so on. And they asked Srila Prabhupada, sometimes you do not translate the actual word in the Sanskrit as it is. An example is this: Sa means he, but rather than say he said Uddhava, to be more specific. Hmm? The answer to Srila Prabhupada says, yes, I do that. That's my expertise. This is how he answered it. So this is one of Srila Prabhupada's expertise. Sa in Sanskrit means he, but because it was about Uddhava, he brought it, the context of it, into the translation. That's why Sa now means Uddhava, but actually in general it means he. Anyway, so I just remember this. I thought I'd put it in. That's your papa's expertise in doing this. He translates to teach. He doesn't translate just to teach, just to, go from Sanskrit to English. He translates to teach at the same time. Anyway, so in this translation, Srila Prabhupada says, Uddhava served the Lord from his childhood. That's expected of your Buddhists. They think of Krishna all the time. Srila Prabhupada is also like that. They play in a way to remember Krishna when they're children. And for Uddhava, in his old age, Srila Prabhupada spent some time talk about devotees who are physically, up there, senior, and how their attitude should be. Which is the main part of this whole purport. But Uddhava in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. The reason is when one is serving Krishna, their love for Krishna increases. See, love does not have a limit. So while a person is serving and they're loving the service that they're doing to Krishna, and then they're loving Krishna himself, this is the maturity of service. Not because they love Krishna, they do the service. That service would never leave because the heart is so open then at that time. So when Vidura asked him at Uddhava about the message of the Lord, then he immediately remembered. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point about the fact that Uddhava had aged quite a bit. And so he says, transcendental service to the Lord is not mundane. We look at service, we have done something physical, and at some point the body can't do those things so well. So then it's time for retirement. Every country, the older people, they stop doing most of this work that is physical. Some people in some countries still do, even at an old age. But generally, many people that are old, the body starts giving all kinds of pain. So some things is very painful to do, and they have to just, whether they like it or not, stop it. But Srila Prabhupada is saying when it comes to transcendental service, that's in a different category. And he says generally in old age, a person is allowed to retire, but in the transcendental service, there is no retirement at all. That's why the word is there. Ahoitiki, that is unmotivated. Apatiyata means block. Apatiyata, no block. Therefore, the service continues. So, the service attitude, not the service itself, but the service attitude, and this is what we graded on by the gurus, the whole transcendental system. What is our service attitude? The service attitude increases more and more with the progress of age. When the person begins to understand some of the depths of Krishna consciousness from hearing, then that service attitude increases because the love for Krishna increases. So now they want to serve. And the attitude towards service is attitude of focus. an attitude of the person being pleased that they've been given the opportunity to serve. And the person finishes that particular service, they are very thankful that they got the opportunity to serve. That is the attitude towards the service. Attitude is very important. So much so that Magu Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, cautioned us about one thing, that Krishna does not watch the service that we do so much as the service attitude towards it. Because Krishna already knows that there are 4 defects in the humans, and one of them is that we have imperfect senses. So what are we going to do perfectly? We won't be able to do things so perfectly. But the attitude, that is a mindset, that can be pure. The mindset is, as soon as we begin to think, oh, I'm going to do it, I don't feel like doing it, but I'll do it anyway, in a grudging mood, the service attitude then is bad. And then we have to remind ourselves, Krishna doesn't need anything from us. He's a controller. So if we get that attitude of being grudge and serving grudgingly, then we are cheating ourselves, because we will not develop love for Krishna that way. So the service attitude has to be one that is 100% willingness to do the service. And when it comes to physical part of it, we do as best as we can. We endeavor to do the best we can. Sometimes there may be slips here and there. And that's why, especially when we do service and then in the end, there are prayers for forgiveness for if we didn't do some things properly. Manta hinam, kriya hinam, bhakti hinam, janada, it's there, the whole thing what we say. So, aparat sahasrani, thousands of offenses are committed but daily. But you said that, you devotee, name bhakta panashati, iti samsmitya. From this point, that your devotee will never perish. I'm able to still maintain my life air, like that. Pranam Samnarayami Aham. This is one of the prayers that we say for forgiveness. But the attitude should be an attitude of determination and feeling fortunate that we've got the service to do. So now, Srila Prabhupada explains that transcendental service is on the spiritual platform, not on the bodily platform. It's the body that feels tired. The spirit does not. So if we're serving in the transcendental or spiritual platform, there is no question of feeling fatigue from the body. Now, sometimes that's not to say that at the end of a service that's quite grueling, that we won't feel tired. But at the time we're doing the service, our determination, literally, will give us the impetus to do the service. And if our heart is really set in the service, that to do the best that we can, there is no stopping us. The person who is like that does that service and does it very, very well. So, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that Uddhava had become old, but it doesn't mean that his spirit had become old. Again, another argument there. This is on the spiritual platform, so that connection should be there, of being determined to do the service to the best of one's ability. So when he was asked about Krishna, he immediately remembered the Lord and forgot himself on the physical plane. He remembered the Lord. His mind is transferred immediately to the spiritual level. Not that it wasn't there all the time, but to bring it by the way questions were asked by Vidura, it even made it more emphatic about how Uddhava remembered Krishna. So that's a very, very, very important thing for us to also do. Because Srila Prabhupada says that is the sign of pure devotional service to the Lord. And he says later on, Lord Kapila's instructions to his mother Devahuti talks about this Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya, meaning the symptoms or the manifestation of Bhakti Yoga. So when a person is determined, even when they're getting older, they want to serve even more. Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya. So, Shiva Prabhupada said it will be explained later in Lord Kapila's instruction. Lord Kapila's instruction is in third canto, the canto that we're in, third canto, but further down third canto. So in third canto, chapter 29, we're in chapter 2 now, chapter 29, text 11, 12. I will actually read the Sanskrit first. Mad guna shruti matrena mai gun sarva guha shaye. Manogatir avichina yata gangamaso budao. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya. We talked about that already. Symptoms of the manifestation of devotional service. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya negunasya hi udhakritam. Ahoitiki avyavahita ya bhakti purushottame. The translation of both of them are, this is text 11 and text 12 of chapter 29, canto 3. The manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. So, how unadulterated, unalloyed devotional service comes about? It starts with the mind. When the mind is attracted to hearing the transcendental name and the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is as Paramatma residing in our heart. And then the Lord Kapila gives analogy. Just like the water of the Ganges flows naturally toward the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. And that's why in the Shastra it says, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yoga sevate. When one does devotional service, unfailing. So if you imagine the water of a Ganges flowing towards the ocean, nothing stops the flow of the river Ganges. So the devotional service is uninterrupted by any material condition. Same thing. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yoga sevate. Sagunaya samati tetan. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Then you come to the Brahma Bhuta platform, which is where Uddhava was at. So devotional ecstasy, just like the Ganges flows towards the ocean, it also flows uninterrupted by anything material. And it flows towards the Supreme Lord in love. So the basic principle of this unadulterated pure devotional service is love of Godhead. We're doing it even if we don't understand what love means. And I'm one of those. We're just learning. We're not at the platform of Krishna Prema. But the intention should be, I am doing this service because Krishna would prefer me to do this service than do anything material. And I'm trying to satisfy Krishna's senses. I'm learning because I've been envious of Krishna. Now I'm in the material world and I don't know how to love Krishna. So those who love, they serve the person they love. Therefore, I'm trying to serve so I can develop love for Godhead. So the basic principle of this unalloyed devotional service, pure devotional service, is love of Godhead. Those who are pure devotees, they serve without any rules because they give all their hearts. So when one hears about the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord, it's magnetic. It attracts a person. And then service becomes, oh, but this is the Lord we're talking about? I will definitely serve the Lord. I will definitely serve the Lord's representative, Guru. I will definitely serve the Lord's devotees. This is all something that satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada said, Yashat Prasad Bhagavat Prasad. He translated sometimes, we know the direct meaning, but he also translated that when Guru is satisfied, Krishna is satisfied. And when we serve devotees, and serve them nicely, then they also feel inspired to stay the course and stay in Krishna consciousness. They will say, the devotees that associate with me, I get to associate, they're very nice and they watch for me. My welfare is important to them. Therefore, where would I go anywhere? Why would I go anywhere else when they're like that towards me? It makes the people be very, 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 the devotional service becomes very firmly rooted when devotees act very nicely towards each other and are there to help each other. Help each other means that when somebody has an issue and we hear about it, that issue becomes our issue. How to solve it becomes a priority for us. But this comes when we hear the qualities of the Supreme Personality of God. And Srila Prabhupada says these qualities are called nirguna. Nirguna means they are not affected by the modes. Everything about Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is absolute. Therefore, the qualities of Krishna are also Krishna. And Krishna is transcendental, not material. Therefore, those qualities that we hear when we listen to Shastra, they're not affected by the modes. Therefore, he's attractive to the pure devotee. So, for the pure devotee, they don't need to practice meditation to attain some attraction. No. Like some yogis meditate because they want to see the Lord in the heart. That does not mean that they're not necessarily impure. That does not mean that. But sometimes the devotees try to, some yogis try to do that, to attain that way. But Lord Chaitanya has made it simple for us. We chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And that is as far as we go in meditation. Kali Yuga is not even, it's a situation where we can't sit, the mind is so disturbed. But the process has been so simplified that even a 2-year-old can chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And by doing so, the affinity between us and the Supreme Personality of Godhead increases naturally. And now it's compared to the way the Ganges water flows towards the sea. So a pure devotee's attraction is on a transcendental plane. And it cannot be stopped by any material condition. The name of the Lord, the form of the Lord, and the pastimes of the Lord. We mention Krishna's name. The pure devotee mentions Krishna's name, and the heart just bubbles with so much love. And Srila Prabhupada, that word, in this translation we gave that Lord Kapila was saying, he used the word abhachinna. It also means almost like ahoitiki, abhachinna, without interruptions. And that's very, very important. So if there is some material condition that comes in the way of our service, we have to be able to bypass that by either going over it or pushing it aside mentally or sometimes even physically to get the devotional service done. Nothing stops the devotional service of a pure devotee. And Srila Prabhupada demonstrated that, especially the greatest thing he did was to write the books for us. And he was on top of it wherever he traveled. He did not allow jet lag and any of those kind of things to affect him. And he kept writing, and he kept writing. And result, 84 books. So our hoitiki is without reason. It's another way of saying it. So a pure devotee does not serve the Lord for any particular cause or any benefit, material or spiritual. That's the first symptom of unalloyed devotion. Anya bilasita sunyam jnana kamadhyanavitam anukulena krishnanu silam bhakti uttama. In Stancha Tamitia Madalila 19,167, I think. Yeah. First class devotional service. When that develops, we should be devoid of all material desires, knowledge by monistic philosophy, We'll explain that in a minute. And also freedom of action. The devotee has to serve the Lord constantly and favorably, the way Krishna likes to be served. And that is given by Krishna himself, and the instructions are given by Guru. And now, when the Guru is not around, other Shiksha Gurus who are senior devotees, they have the experience, they've been doing it for a long time, they can also guide us. So devotional service must be devoid of material desires and knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy. So what is monistic philosophy? Sometimes we hear monists. What do they do? Well, monists believe that all things, including people, animals, objects, they are all part of the same basic whole. They're all from one source. That's what monists believe. And that source may be referred to as God, the universe, or nature, or the one supreme person. Now, it seems like it's close to us in terms of our beliefs because everything comes from the Lord. He says, I am actually the source of everything material and spiritual. So in that sense, monists are correct in that sense. But the thing is, monist says everything comes from one source. They may refer to as God, all the universe, all nature. They believe all of that all things come from that. But we need to, they are just diverse or splayed out. The monist philosophy is not specific. It's not specific to Krishna, but it talks about Krishna's creations, the universe, nature, or even somebody who is an impersonalist will say the one, whatever that one is. All things come from the one. So that's the difference. That's the weakness of monastic philosophy. Because for the devotee, they know that Krishna is saying this, and we believe that everything comes from me. Lord Brahma says, Sarva Karana Karanam. And before that, he says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, the supreme controller is Krishna. And he says, Sarva Karana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. Not some things involving nature or the one or the universe, and sounds very new agey. That's a monastic philosophy. So we don't look at devotional service, first class devotional service from a monastic philosophical standpoint. No. It's too split out. It's too spread out to involve, although they say all things, people, animals, objects, they are part of the same basic part. Part is also correct because we're part and parcel of the Lord. But a basic whole, and that's when they just go, out to talking about any and everything being the one source. But the source for us is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. So a pure devotee has no desire to fulfill other than rendering devotional service. And for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As distinct from some pseudo-devotees who sometimes who pray to or do puja to demigods, and they're thinking that all the forms of demigods are the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead's form. This is why in the 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy name, the second one we have to be aware of is to consider the names of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the holy name of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. The big time demigods are the ones that are mentioned. Therefore, all other demigods fall in the same category. It is an offense to think of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva to be at the same level or to be independent. They depend on Lord Vishnu. They are dependent on Vishnu. And they're certainly not in the same category as Lord Vishnu. So that is made clear. And in their translation also, Lord Kapila is saying, Abhyavahita means we shouldn't stop without cessation. A pure devotee must engage in the service of the Lord 24 hours a day. So sometimes we're doing things physical, But when we're not doing things physical, we should also be hearing. So all the time we're engaged in some sense, one sense or a number of senses in serving the Lord. We should be hearing. Hmm? I remember my Guru Maharaj, the time we were living with them in Girinagri, Bhakti Maharaj. He would take Prashadam at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We were cooking for him. We means my wife, myself, some devotees would also come. We were taking turns. Had a whole schedule there, school cook for Maharaj that day when we were living in Girinagri. But he always had something that he was reading. Even sometimes when he sat to eat, he would put a spiritual book aside on the table. I still remember the small table close to the window. He looks outside to this nature up at the Institute house. He would finish his meal. If there was a particular meal that he liked, he might call us and ask for a little more. When he finishes, he is immediately reading and reading something spiritual. When he was dressing his deities, his own personal deities, he would call a devotee to come to the room and he would give one spiritual book of his own choice, most of the time Chaitanya Tamita, and he'll have the devotee sit down and read while he was dressing his deities. So he always wanted to hear like that. So we are fortunate to have this path that we are involved in, and also the instructions of how the pure devotees served. So Abhavyahita means without cessation, but it also means the interest of the devotee and the interest of the Lord are on the same level. The interest of the devotee and the interest of the Lord, both are at the same level. So how do we figure that out? Because we are part and parcel of the Lord. The Lord is Vibhu and we are Anu. So why are the interests the same? So one way to look at it means that the Lord wants a devotee to perform devotional service. This is the interest. The Lord wants the devotee to perform devotional service. And the devotee also wants to perform devotional service to please the Lord. The Lord wants devotional service performed by the pure devotee, anyone who's learning, and which means they put their hearts out to serve the Lord. And the devotee wants to perform devotional service. So that's the same level. The level is devotional service, performance of devotional service. The Lord desires it, the devotee wants to do it. So Abhavyahita means the interest of the devotee to serve and the interest of the Supreme Lord to be served. They are on the same level. So our service should be spontaneous to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If it's spontaneous, then the chances, spontaneous is natural, and we do it with great, great joy, then it is unlikely to be contaminated by the material modes because our focus will be a lot better. So, such pure devotion service is free from all contamination of nature. So, what should we do? The conclusion is we should serve with our hearts. First thing, if we're going to learn to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, service must be done with our heart. Therefore, there should not be any grudge feelings towards service that, oh, they imposed this on me. No, we should be happy to serve. Happy to serve the devotees, happy to serve Guru, and happy to serve the deities. So, as we grow, you talked about age here, we should endeavor to serve more. Although the physical part of the service can be adjusted as the body can stand the exertion, it should be adjusted as the body can stand. If it's too much for the body because of old age, then it has to be changed. Sometimes the service itself has to be stopped, but something else has to take its place. That's also devotional service. Or the service can be maintained, but some adjustment made to it. Now, while we're doing this, we shouldn't allow material contamination to come in. And one of the things that disturbs us is gossip. To cut off all material gossip, because quite frankly, it is of no use. it can't take us back to Godhead. We also should be convinced that material energy does not bring happiness nor real satisfaction. Material energy does not bring happiness or real satisfaction because distress follows every material, even action that is supposed to be beneficial. There is distress. A simple example is like driving a car. I want to get from this point to this point. As soon as you're in the road, your attention level is high because you're watching every single driver driving the other vehicles, what they will do. If you pull alongside a tractor trailer, your antenna goes up. Distress can happen at any time, and sometimes it does happen. So that's the material energy. It does not bring real happiness. In the road, and the example we just gave, that raises our level of anxiety, being careful. Because what? Padam, padam, yat, padam, natisha. There's problem. Every step there's danger. But in the spiritual world, there's no danger anywhere to speak of. It's all joy, no anxiety. And that's where Srila Prabhupada is getting us to go. So by pleasing the Lord and the Lord's devotees, and this representative of the Lord's spiritual master, the chances of going back to Godhead then increases. The Lord is the one that's going to tell us finally whether we can come or not. But when we serve him in love, why would he say no? That is the kind of person that he wants to associate with. Those who love him, like the gopis, love him with all their hearts. Whenever they have any indication that Krishna is around, they will go. We should not be like the Brahmanas that were so busy with their service that when the cowherd boys came and said, Krishna Balarama, nearby they are hungry, give us some prasadam from your service to give to them, they got ignored. And when the cowherd boys went back and told what had happened to Krishna and Balaram, they smiled and said, go back to the wives of the Brahmanas and say the same thing to them. And when they went, the wives of the Brahmanas were so happy to hear that Krishna was nearby. Not only did they give prasad to give to Krishna, they decided, no, we'll take the prasad there ourselves. Why? Because we get to see Krishna and Balaram. We did that close. Krishna and Balaram asked the cowherd boys to get some foodstuff to give to them. But the wives of the Brahmanas brought the foodstuffs themselves as more than enough for everybody. That should be our attitude. This is be our attitude. And that way, then, we will, in fact, have a chance to go back to Godhead because we will qualify to go. So serve with our hearts, make an adjustment as we age. But as he said, Srila Prabhupada says here, the spiritual service should increase with age. Take off those things that could be problems, material things, because material things does not bring, material energy does not give total happiness. Distress is around the corner for material things. And so we please the Lord after the spiritual level, and then we get a chance to go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to have this class. And this is time to unmute yourself if you feel like having some commentary about this or asking a question or something that's inspired that you want to add to this. You're more than welcome to do that. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So please unmute yourself if you so wish to speak. Anyone can start. Anybody with comments, they can meet themselves and talk. Hare Krishna.
It was really very good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
I'm driving, but just I want to say it was a really nice class, and I think I got that when we should serve Krishna with bhava, with heart. It's important.
Yes. Serving with the heart is very important.
Very good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Jai. Anyone else with comments?
Very, very, very good class, Prabhu.
Krishna's
I always
mercy,
wait
Guru's
for
mercy.
this class.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy.
Yeah, really, sometimes we do these slokas, don't know the meaning. Some of them, I'm telling you. So from childhood, I used to do with my mother, I used to do all the pujas and nativity. I don't know anything. But everything I by heart. That Mantra Pushpam, everything I had by heart. Sri Suktam I have by heart. But I didn't know the meaning. I was doing that. That's all my mother is doing, I'm doing. That's it. But now I feel that Sri Sukta meaning and everything. Oh, this much meaning in there about mother. So that was really like Purusha Sukta, Sri Sukta is also there, no? You know that. So all of them I just had by heart. And Venkateswara Suprabhatam, I had by heart. But meaning, I just didn't know, nobody told me. But my mother used to say, you have to go, you have to do pray, like that. I used to do. But now I know all even Venkateswara Suprabhatam, that meaning. And there is so much meaning in that.
Well, look at the bright side of it. Your mom had you do it at that time, you didn't have the meaning. But he had you memorize, so she had you memorize. So now, when you go back to the same thing, when now you're an adult, you see the meaning. Compared to somebody who was not taught anything at all, they wouldn't know anything. At least you know. So in your, when you matured, then the meaning
I
came
know
to you.
all the slokas, Prabhu. I know all of them by heart. But the only thing is with the meaning, now I'm getting one after the other meaning.
Yeah. What you're saying, I'm thinking that maybe it would have been better if your mom had explained, even at a child's age, a little bit of it, what it means, so that you could appreciate it more. And that didn't happen. They just said, okay, memorize it, and you memorize it.
Old lady, she has 6 children.
Oh, okay.
And she has to take care of, we don't have any that daily, means continuous servants or anything. She has to take care of everything.
Yeah.
So she needs to have time also for her. For her puja, for her cooking. And my father was very particular about food and everything. That's so she has to take care. That is also not easy.
No.
Now we know missionary here, America missions are there. In India, servants are there. No. Those days it was not.
It wasn't like
we
that.
are not
no.
used to.
Yeah.
They cannot touch all the food or anything. Maid servants, if they come, they cannot touch. We have to have specially to take shower, and then my mother has to do. Even we cannot touch, though we take shower. That's how it was those days.
It was strict. You had a strict
that
household.
was like that, Prabhu.
You had a strict household, but you grew up well, and now even your daughter has a devotee. So you know so.
Now she knows a little bit. That what I used to do, and she followed that also.
Yeah. So it all ended well.
Thanks to God.
Yeah.
Thanks to Krishna.
Thank you, Guru and Krishna. Thank you.
At this age, I got my second initiation.
So, wonderful.
That was mantra initiation I took.
Yeah.
Me
so
and
now
my
it's
daughter.
now you can do DD service.
That I don't know. That I don't know. But I'm not going too fast for that.
Okay.
I have to learn a lot, Prabhu.
Yeah. When you get second initiation, though, that opens, because the first initiates can't
open.
do daily service.
It's open.
It's open, yeah. So now the opportunity comes, just jump in.
But I don't want to run too fast.
let Krishna do the determination of how fast you run.
See, even the second initiation, I didn't ask for it. It automatically came. So Krishna will do something.
Yeah. That's a good attitude to it. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
Vaisheshika Prabhu was telling that this is the first time I gave
Mhm.
initiation for mother and daughter.
Oh, okay.
In his service. He said
Yeah.
this is the first time he did it.
Okay, so you have the privilege, you and Shivarani, once again, so both of you. Wonderful, wonderful.
That was
Jai,
wonderful, Prabhu.
Jai. Any other comments for other devotees too? They want to chime in?
See, like you said, Prabhupada said that Sa about Vidura
Mm-hmm.
and how
Uddhava.
Uddhava, I'm
Sa,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
how why he said Sa and then
Mm-hmm.
he said Uddhava.
Mm-hmm.
See, that was really something. If he says Sa, he, who is the he? We might start. But if he said Uddhava, then that
then
was
you
really
know.
good point. That was.
Yeah, this is referring to this. That's your Papa's expertise.
Yeah, that is his expertise.
Yeah. But in many levels, when he said that's my expertise, because the Sanskrit scholars were criticizing him.
Oh, is that?
And so, yeah, they were saying, because they know, and that's not just that word only, but they were just talking about Srila Prabhupada translating it sometimes. They know what the Sanskrit word means, but then they have a different word Srila Prabhupada has chosen for that thing. And Srila Prabhupada says, that's my expertise. But that's just to tell them that, I'm doing for Krishna, not for your, knowledge and just for the sake of knowledge. I'm trying to teach here with it.
Yeah, that is really something he's expert only for that.
Yeah.
If he is not out written, that he means, I have to go back to the back slokas and think who is doing what.
Who is doing it, yeah. And so to mention Uddhava's name directly, then you know the context and you know who is speaking and so on. That's, which is better.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Nice.
Hare Krishna. Any last comments before it's going to make?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Thank you. I love these classes, especially Saturday mornings, getting up.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. Thank you.
Yeah, Saturdays, they
for
can
coming.
spend a lot of time.
Yeah. There's only a few of us that listen, but sometimes the fewer the merrier, because you can talk more and, you can just, you feel closer when you have, it's more intimate that way. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Go Shri Prabhupada. All right. I guess without any other comment, then we can end here. Okay. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya
patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Prabhupada ki jai. Everybody, please work hard to become pure devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.